Welcome to Mystic Library X, where hidden libraries and ancient knowledge come alive. Dive into the mysteries of history and uncover secrets long forgotten. Let's explore the unknown together. Akhenaten, the mysterious king of ancient Egypt. A name that sparks curiosity and raises countless questions. Why was a pharaoh erased from the official records of his own country's history? Was he a bold religious reformer or a heretic cast aside? His journey is not just a tale of power but a mystery spanning millennia. Imagine, over 3,300 years ago, in the arid desert of Amarna, a place that today is nothing more than silent sand dunes and limestone cliffs along the Nile River, once stood the center of a vibrant civilization. It was here that tens of thousands of ancient Egyptians were summoned to build a new capital at the will of one man. That man was none other than Pharaoh Akhenaten, a rebel, a reformer, and the founder of one of humanity's earliest monotheistic religions. But what led a king like Akhenaten to become a figure shunned by history? After his death in 1336 BCE, the name Akhenaten was wiped clean from Egypt's official list of pharaohs. His monuments, temples, and statues were destroyed, as if he had never existed. Why was a king treated this way? What happened during his tumultuous 17-year reign? Akhenaten was not originally destined for the throne. He was born as Prince Amenhotep, the younger brother of Crown Prince Thutmose, the rightful heir. But the sudden death of his older brother changed everything. In 1353 BCE, Pharaoh Amenhotep III passed away, and Prince Amenhotep ascended the throne as Amenhotep IV. However, no one could have predicted that this young pharaoh would completely transform the face of ancient Egypt. From the moment he took power, Akhenaten exhibited defiance and boldness in his character. He was not just a pharaoh but a religious reformer, challenging the traditional polytheistic beliefs that had existed in Egypt for thousands of years. Instead of continuing to worship Ammonius, the supreme god of Thebes and lord of all gods, Akhenaten shifted his devotion to Aten, a new sun god. He declared that Aten was the only god worthy of worship, but Akhenaten didn't stop at changing religion. He initiated a series of radical reforms. He banned all texts and rituals related to other gods, abandoned traditional beliefs, and forced the entire royal court to relocate from Thebes to a new capital, Akhenaten. This city, named after Aten, was not only a political center but also a symbol of Egypt's religious transformation. The temples that were built facing east to greet the rising sun, as a tribute to Aten. However, these bold changes sparked deep dissatisfaction within Egyptian society. The priests of Ammonius, who held significant power in both politics and religion, were stripped of their influence. The Egyptian people, accustomed to polytheistic traditions, began to feel alienated and struggled to accept the new religion. This growing discontent led to a prolonged religious and political crisis throughout Akhenaten's reign. So, what drove Akhenaten to pursue these reforms so relentlessly? Was he a visionary reformer striving to usher Egypt into a new era? Or was he merely a tyrant forcing his will upon the nation? These questions remain an unsolved mystery. After Akhenaten's death, everything he had built was swiftly dismantled. The capital Akhenaten was abandoned. The worship of Aten was abolished, and Egypt returned to its traditional polytheistic beliefs. Later pharaohs, especially Horemheb, worked to erase every trace of Akhenaten from history. Yet, despite being shunned by history, the name Akhenaten endures as one of the most controversial figures of ancient Egypt. So, was Akhenaten a great reformer or just a rebellious figure forgotten by history? The mysteries surrounding his life, from his origins and ideology to the downfall of his reign, continue to captivate scholars and history enthusiasts alike. Aten, the god of Akhenaten, was unlike any deity in the history of Egypt. Aten was depicted as a large, radiant red solar disk, emanating glorious rays of light, a symbol of life and supreme power. But Aten was not an indigenous Egyptian god. Initially, Aten was referred to as Horus, a living god who appeared on the horizon, bringing light from the heavens. This was originally a foreign deity introduced into Egyptian beliefs, and soon after, the name Aten, a short, memorable term, replaced Horus, becoming the exclusive symbol of Akhenaten. The first mention of Aten appears in The Tale of Sinew, from the 12th dynasty, where a deceased king is described as a god unified with the solar disk, becoming an eternal divine entity. This imagery not only reflects reverence for Aten but also suggests that the concept of a singular deity had emerged much earlier in Egyptian history. However, under Akhenaten's leadership, Aten was no longer just a religious symbol but became the centerpiece of a monotheistic ideology, something unprecedented in Egyptian civilization. Not content with merely changing the god of worship, Akhenaten took a bold step. He changed his name from Amenhotep IV, closely associated with the god Ammonius, to Akhenaten, meaning servant of Aten. This was not merely a name change but a powerful declaration of his absolute devotion to Aten and a direct challenge to the traditional polytheistic system that had existed for thousands of years. Akhenaten didn't just alter religious beliefs, he transformed Aten into a national symbol. He ordered the construction of massive temples dedicated solely to Aten, where sunlight perpetually illuminated the interiors. Portrait statues of himself were carved from enormous limestone blocks and lined up in Aten's temples, asserting that he was the bridge between humanity and this singular deity. Take a closer look at his portraits. While other pharaohs were typically depicted with strong, majestic features, Akhenaten appeared with an unusual form: a long face, high cheekbones, a pointed nose, full lips, wide hips, and a protruding belly. Was this the image of a king afflicted by illness, or was it a deliberate break from artistic norms to express a philosophy ahead of its time? These statues were not just representations of a ruler but symbols of Akhenaten's defiance, rebellion, and unique ideology. According to Egyptian mythology, Akhenaten was seen as a descendant of celestial beings, often referred to as the Shemsuhor or the followers of Horus. Ancient records describe him as a king born of those who came from the stars, who frequently visited to guide him in ruling the kingdom. Could this be why Akhenaten abandoned the worship of traditional gods and focused all his faith on Aten, the god of light and life? Akhenaten once proclaimed, "There is only one God, my Father. I can approach him day and night." This was a bold, even radical, statement in an era when Egyptians still believed in a complex polytheistic system. His words not only affirmed his unwavering loyalty to Aten but also implied that he had a direct connection to this god, a concept unprecedented in Egyptian history. Akhenaten's reforms not only disrupted religious practices but also plunged Egyptian society into chaos. The priestly class, particularly the priests of Ammonius, lost their power and wealth, leading to profound dissatisfaction. The political and religious landscape grew increasingly tense, pushing Egypt into a prolonged period of instability. Akhenaten, the most controversial pharaoh in ancient Egyptian history, dared to challenge a religious system that had endured for thousands of years and sparked a chaotic religious revolution. But were his bold changes a wise choice or merely the beginning of a tragic chain of events? At the time Akhenaten ascended the throne, the priests of Ammonius held not only religious power but also political control. They possessed immense wealth derived from the worship of Ammonius, the supreme deity of Egypt. However, Akhenaten delivered a shocking blow by abolishing the status of Ammonius and replacing it with the worship of Aten, the sun god. This was nothing short of a slap in the face to the Ammonius priests, shaking the very foundation of their power. On the surface, officials and the royal court obeyed Akhenaten's orders, but inwardly, they harbored deep resentment. This silent opposition gradually created a tense atmosphere, plunging the nation into political and religious turmoil. Did Akhenaten underestimate the strength of the priestly class, or did he truly believe his mission was to transform Egypt's entire belief system? Not only did Akhenaten stir controversy with his religious reforms, but his personal image also perplexed researchers. Statues and reliefs depicted him with bizarre physical features: an elongated skull, a long neck, sunken eyes, large thighs, long fingers, a swollen belly resembling pregnancy, and breasts akin to those of a woman. His body seemed to be a blend of male and female traits, completely contrary to the idealized image of ancient Egyptian pharaohs. The most peculiar feature was Akhenaten's elongated skull, a characteristic portrayed in all statues and drawings. Even his wife, Queen Nefertiti, was depicted with a similarly elongated skull. Was this a hereditary deformity within the royal family, or a deliberate attempt to create a distinctive image emphasizing his divine connection to Aten? Some scientists, such as Dr. Braverman, an anatomy professor at the University of Israel, have suggested that Akhenaten may have suffered from thermin aromatase syndrome, which causes feminization of the breasts and abnormal physical traits. His elongated skull has also been explained as the result of craniosynostosis, a genetic condition that prematurely fuses the skull sutures, deforming its shape. However, these theories remain insufficient to fully unravel the enigmatic image of this pharaoh, or could there be a more daring possibility, that Akhenaten was truly a hybrid between humans and an extraterrestrial species, as some theories suggest. After Akhenaten's death, his religious reforms were swiftly reversed. Temples dedicated to Aten were destroyed, and Ammonius was restored to his supreme position. The court moved the capital from Amarna, the city Akhenaten had built to honor Aten, back to Thebes. Egypt returned to its traditional polytheistic beliefs, and nearly all traces of Akhenaten were erased. Later pharaohs, such as Tutankhamun and Horemheb, sought to remove Akhenaten's name from history. Horemheb even ordered the destruction of all monuments related to Akhenaten, aiming to obliterate every trace of this pharaoh. Why were they so determined? Did Akhenaten leave behind a legacy too dangerous to be allowed to persist? After Akhenaten's death, the fate of Queen Nefertiti also became a mystery. Some theories suggest she changed her name to Nefertiti and ascended the throne as pharaoh, ruling for a brief period. However, no concrete evidence confirms this. Another theory proposes that Nefertiti might have been Meritaten, the daughter of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. But everything remains speculation, as historical records from this period are extremely vague. Following Akhenaten's reign, Egypt plunged into chaos. Two mysterious pharaohs, Smenkhare and Nefertiti, appeared before the throne was passed to Tutankhamun, Akhenaten's son. However, Tutankhamun's reign was short-lived, and when he died without an heir, power fell into the hands of Horemheb, a general during Akhenaten's time. Horemheb not only restored traditional beliefs but also worked to erase all traces of Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, and from history. Was he afraid that Akhenaten's reforms might once again threaten the stability of the nation? It wasn't until the 19th century that Akhenaten's name was brought back into history when archaeologists uncovered numerous relics in the city of Amarna, the capital he had built. Statues, reliefs, and written records about Akhenaten revealed him to be a unique figure, entirely different from other pharaohs. In 1907, a small tomb marked KV 55 was discovered in the Valley of the Kings. Inside was the mummy of a man with peculiar physical features, wide hips and slender arms. Initially, scientists mistook the mummy for a woman. But after multiple tests, they confirmed it was a male mummy, and it was likely Akhenaten. However, to this day, the true identity of this mummy remains a topic of debate. Akhenaten, the enigmatic pharaoh of ancient Egypt, has intrigued and baffled historians for thousands of years due to his peculiar physical traits and controversial reign. But was he merely a unique historical figure, or is there something about him that transcends our understanding? Recent discoveries about his DNA and skull have opened up an entirely new perspective, making the story of Akhenaten more captivating than ever. For decades, the identity of the mummy found in tomb KV 55 remained a major question for archaeologists. This tomb, discovered in 1907, contained the remains of a man with unusual physical features, particularly a long and distorted skull. Initially, it was mistakenly thought to be the mummy of a woman. But subsequent tests confirmed that it was indeed male. It wasn't until recent years that scientists conducted DNA testing on a series of royal mummies, including the one from KV 55. The results revealed that this mummy was Akhenaten, the son of Pharaoh Amenhotep III and Queen Tai. This discovery partially resolved the mystery surrounding his identity and supported the theory that he was initially buried in his own tomb in Amarna, but his remains were later relocated to the Valley of the Kings when the court moved back to Thebes. One of the most striking aspects that sets Akhenaten apart in history is the elongated and distorted shape of his skull. When archaeologists examined the remains in KV 55, they confirmed that his skull was indeed abnormally shaped, long and distinct from that of an average person. This anomaly has given rise to numerous theories about his origins and health conditions. Not only Akhenaten, but his son, Tutankhamun, also possessed a similarly elongated skull. When Tutankhamun's tomb was discovered by Howard Carter in 1922, researchers noticed this feature and questioned whether it might be a hereditary deformity within the royal family. In February 2010, DNA testing confirmed that Tutankhamun was indeed Akhenaten's son, further solidifying the connection between the two and their shared trait of elongated skulls. What's particularly fascinating is that the shape of Akhenaten's skull bears a resemblance to the pharaohs skulls, a type of elongated skull found in Peru, famous for their unusual shape and a source of much scientific debate. While the pharaohs skulls are believed to result from artificial cranial deformation during childhood, DNA testing on these skulls has shown that they do not belong to any known human lineage on Earth. This connection has led many to ask, could Akhenaten have been part of a lineage created by an extraterrestrial species, or was he a descendant of beings from the stars, as some bold theories suggest? His elongated skull, along with other unusual physical traits, has fueled speculation that he might have origins beyond humanity. In Egyptian mythology, Akhenaten is often described as having a special connection to Aten, the sun god he worshipped. He declared Aten to be the sole deity and positioned himself as the intermediary between Aten and humanity. But was this connection merely a religious belief? Or was there something deeper at play? Some theories propose that Akhenaten might have been a hybrid, part human and part extraterrestrial. His peculiar physical traits, from the elongated skull and swollen abdomen to breasts resembling those of a woman, lend credence to this hypothesis. Could he have been a unique being, created to fulfill a specific mission on Earth? After Akhenaten's death, his religious reforms were reversed, and subsequent pharaohs sought to erase his name from history. However, recent archaeological discoveries have brought him back into the spotlight, forcing us to reconsider his legacy. Was Akhenaten merely a bold reformer, or was he truly a figure that transcends our understanding? Questions about Akhenaten's origins, the connection between his skull and the pharaohs skulls, and his role in human history remain unanswered. Was he a being from the stars, or simply a unique historical figure with unusual physical features? Perhaps further research and discoveries will one day unravel this mystery. Let's continue the discussion about this fascinating story in the comments below. Akhenaten, a descendant of the stars or just an extraordinary pharaoh? The answer is still waiting to be uncovered. Thank you for joining Mystic Library X on this journey through the mysteries of history. If you've made it this far, chances are this video has brought you some valuable insights. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to keep us motivated to uncover more untold stories. See you in the next video. Let's keep exploring the unknown together.